We welcome back to the show old friend, Missouri Congressman Jason Smith, who's the chair of the House Ways and Means Committee. Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. Jason, I wanted to talk budget, but I just want to say, if you have something to say about the impeachment inquiry from the Ways and Means, I mean, you were the one who broke the story with the IRS whistleblowers. And, we were thinking about, since the budget stuff was in the news this morning and today, but in fact, do you want to speak to the issue of who's going to come before your committee, or do you want to hold that in abeyance?
I would be happy to. We've been involved in this process since June, when we released the two IRS whistleblowers' testimony on June 22nd, which was over 15 hours of interviews. Since that point, the two IRS whistleblowers has given us additional documents that we are reviewing right now, and we're going to set in the process, which under federal law, it's called 6103, that when there's private taxpayer information, we have to make that public through an executive session. That's how we made the 15 hours of testimony of the two IRS whistleblowers public. We're going to be doing that very shortly, because there's some very important information that these two IRS whistleblowers have given us in addition to their prior testimony and to back up their prior testimony. And so it's important for the American people to see it, along with the Judiciary Committee and the Oversight Committee.
So, Mr. Chairman, on that point, I mean, I want to say Hunter Biden's got some nerve suing the IRS for releasing personal information. As I listen to you, you're saying these whistleblowers are actually doing their job and their duty.
Yeah, these whistleblowers are brave. One thing about it, Larry, is throughout these several months that have passed, the White House's story has changed numerous times. But guess what? Those two IRS whistleblowers have been consistent. Their stories have not changed. And in fact, we have subpoenaed FBI agents, we've subpoenaed IRS agents, and they have came before us and they have confirmed testimony of the IRS whistleblowers. So you tell me, these same lawyers of Hunter Biden are the same lawyers, according to the IRS whistleblowers, that told Department of Justice prosecutors that if they brought charges against the president's son, they'd be facing career suicide. That is what we're dealing with, Larry.
Well, Chairman Jim Jordan had similar things to say. Jamie Comer last night on Fox News also had similar things. The whistleblowers haven't changed their story, but it's intimidation. I mean, basically, Hunter Biden and his team, Abby Lowell, I know he's a smart lawyer, but they're just trying to intimidate these guys. And your point is they haven't changed their story one bit. So the intimidation is not working.
The intimidation's not working. What I'm worried about is the intimidation of other whistleblowers and other employees of the IRS and the Department of Justice that we need to get before Congress and have them answer questions, because it's a pretty big web. That's according to the information that we have received so far, we have several people that need to come before us and answer questions.
So you're going to have some new faces coming up in the weeks ahead.
Absolutely. We just recently, Jim subpoenaed several employees of the Department of Justice Tax Division. We need to bring them in. We need them to answer some questions, Larry.
All right. Well, that's very important. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can I just bring you back to the budget goings-on? House Freedom Caucus tried to align with the Main Street Republicans in the conference. Didn't seem to work out. But as I understand it, Speaker McCarthy is saying, all right, we may or may not have a vote on Thursday, but there may be multiple votes as people try to move no's to yeses. And I assume you're on board with that. If you're not, please disabuse me of that notion.
No, Speaker McCarthy says that we'll stay here until we get the job done. Do we have a fight ahead of us, Larry? Absolutely. But let's not forget, the United States Senate, which is controlled by the Democrats, have yet to pass one appropriations bill. We have passed some appropriations bills in the House of Representatives, but the Democrat-controlled Senate has not passed one. And let me tell you, the American people are tired of this reckless spending. They saw $10 trillion of spending happen in the first 2 years of Joe Biden's presidency, where Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer controlled everything, and it led to inflation increasing 17.4% for all Americans, making it more difficult for them to put food on their table, clothes on their backs, and gasoline in their cars. So I'm not going to allow the Democrats not to own the fact that they can't even pass a bill in their own chamber.
I mean, Jason, you and I have talked about this down through the years. If you can get regular order, I know that sounds like it's in the weeds. All that means is there are 12 appropriation committees, if I have that right. If each one passes an appropriation bill in their jurisdiction, then you won't have to have these crazy omnibus spending bills in the dead of night, and nobody knows what's in them, whether it's Maui disaster relief or Ukraine funding or, the man on the moon. I mean, to me, the taxpayers can understand what each appropriation subcommittee can do, but if it's one big bill, no one will know what's in that bill until it's passed.
That's exactly right. The American people and members of Congress, we want individual appropriations bills. This is something the Speaker has been pushing from day one. We're going to continue to push for it. I don't believe you'll see all 12 appropriations bills passed out of the House and the Senate and agreed to before October 1st is when government funding ends. So I think you're going to see a huge debate right now of how do we fund government moving forward until we pass these individual appropriations bills.
But also, just the last one, Mr. Chairman, as I understand it, the resolution on the table now would also at least help to close the southern border, which is, as new news reports today, completely and utterly out of control.
Larry, when you travel across this country, that comes up. Other than the cost of goods going up with inflation, the unsecured border is a huge topic and a huge concern, and that's exactly what our plan is H.R. 2, which passed out of the House, putting that attached to the continuing funding bill. We have to secure our border. Even the mayor of New York City, the Democrat mayor, is saying that they can't handle the disaster that's happening. Let me tell you, even Democrats in real America are seeing what's happening, but the Democrats in Washington, D.C., they're so out of touch. They want open borders. They want these policies that Joe Biden's been pushing, which are all wrong for America.
Thank you for your help, Chairman Jason Smith. We appreciate it very much, as always, sir.